press to be admitted into the room.
Okay, I'll inform media services. Please hold.
Thank you, Marlene.
Please have a seat wherever you'd like in the English chairs. We are live.
All right, thank you. My name is Sanford Berland, and I am very pleased to introduce in alphabetical order the following newly appointed members of the Commission on Ethics and Lobbying in Government: Judge Leonard B. Austin, Commissioner Michael A. Cardozo, Commissioner Frederick A. Davey, Judge Edward D. Carney, Dr. Claudia L. Edwards, Commissioner Nancy G. Groenewegen, and Commissioner Seymour W. James, Sr. Welcome all of you and congratulations. And thank you to each of you for taking on these important and demanding roles. This meeting, which is the first meeting of the Commission, is being conducted in accordance with the provisions of Article 7 of the Public Officers Law as temporarily modified by executive order to permit remote participation by Commission members. Pursuant to Section 94H, the 7 members who are present here now constitute a quorum of the Commission, and accordingly this meeting is called to order. So welcome all. Second, let me note that this meeting has been called on abbreviated notice. And the reason for that is, on the one hand, the desire of the newly appointed commissioners to convene as promptly as possible, and the fact that some time was attendant upon completing the appointment process following approval of the various nominations. And at this time, I would entertain a motion to permit the meeting to go forward on such abbreviated notice. Notice, I should note, was put out publicly on September 9th on the Commission's website and distributed.
Second.
Thank you. Do you have those? The movements and the, if we, just for the record, if we could have the movement.
Judge Austin.
Judge Austin, thank you. And the second?
Seymour James.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any discussion? Any questions?
Pose the question.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you see all? Could you raise your hands, please, just so that we can record the vote? It's a unanimous. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, item 3. Under the Executive Law, Section 94, sub 4B, the commissioners are called upon to elect a chairperson from among their ranks by majority vote to serve a 2-year term. However, in deference to the fact that a number of initial seats on the Commission remain to be filled, I believe it makes sense at this time for the Commission to elect an interim chair to serve pending further appointments to the Commission. Is there a motion to so proceed?
So move.
Thank you. Is there a second? Any discussion?
Can they say their names?
Did you not have the name? Oh,
I know it's Cardozo, but the second was it James?
who was the seconder? Was that Commissioner James?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. We're still accommodating to the technology, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Thank you. Any questions or discussion? I think for this we should have a roll call vote just so that we're clear. And I'm going to ask our co-acting Deputy General Counsel and head of our lobbying unit, Carol Quinn, to call the roll.
Judge Austin?
Yes.
Commissioner Cardozo?
Yes.
Judge Carney?
Yes.
Commissioner Chair Davey?
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards? Commissioner Edwards, are you on mute?
Sorry. Yes.
Here we are.
Commissioner Groenewegen?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank The motion having carried at this time, are there any nominations for position of interim chair? Commissioner?
I move to recommend Commissioner Carney as the interim, I'm sorry, Commissioner Davey as interim chair.
I second
Thank
that.
you.
I'll second.
Commissioner Groenewegen seconds, and Commissioner Edwards seconds as well. Thank you. Any other nominations?
Move to close nominations.
Any objection? Okay, the nominations, therefore, are closed. Is there any comment or discussion at this time? Commissioner Davey, do you wish to say anything prior to the vote?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Berlin. Just let me say that I appreciate the confidence and trust that my fellow commissioners have placed in me for this interim period. And I want to emphasize that we all do recognize that it is an interim period. We will determine among ourselves as to when we will make the transition to look for a permanent chair, but this allows us some space to do the work of the commission and to have a point person for now until we get either other commissioners or decide it's time to move forward and appoint a permanent commissioner. So I want to thank my fellow commissioners, assuming the vote goes forward, and I look forward to working closely with everyone, not only the commissioners, but the staff of the commission as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, observations, any discussion? With that, I will call the vote. Shall we do it by roll call?
Judge Austin,
Yes.
Commissioner Cardozo,
Yes.
Judge Carney,
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards,
Yes.
Commissioner Groenewegen,
Yes.
Commissioner James.
Yes.
The vote is unanimous and carries. Thank you very much. And with that, I will turn the chairing of the meeting over to Chair Davey.
Thank you so much, Mr. Berlin. Really appreciate it. And I think we have, in talking with staff and talking among ourselves sort of informally, we recognize it's important also then to have a interim vice chair. And so I'm going to ask my fellow commissioners if we can get a motion to that effect. I think it's important, given how busy we all are, that if the acting chair, interim chair, cannot be available, that we have someone else who is available to work with staff on an as-needed basis. And it seems as if we're going to have a full agenda and be moving forward pretty quickly. So I would ask my fellow commissioners if someone would make a motion that we establish an interim position of vice chair.
Move that we establish an interim position of vice chair.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there a discussion? Hearing none, are we ready to call the question? All right. All those in favor of establishing the position of an interim vice chair, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? So the motion carries. Now, the floor is open for a nominee or nominees for vice chair.
I nominate Judge Austin to serve as the interim vice chair.
Judge Austin has been nominated. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Cardozo. Is there any discussion? Judge Austin, would you like to make some comments?
I'll hold my comments until after I'm elected.
Thank you. All right, very wise man. Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All those in favor of Judge Austin serving as interim vice chair, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The vote carries unanimously. So Judge Austin.
really the best thing to say is ditto to what our new chair said. We're here to serve, and we'll all pull together and do what's best. And I appreciate the confidence of my fellow commissioners. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments before we move forward? All right, hearing none. The next thing I see on the agenda is the appointment of an interim executive director, or acting executive director. Just want to say that it seems to me, I think we all share the position that is essential to the work of the commission, that we have someone operating in this interim position, that it allows the operations of the commission to go forward uninterrupted, and that given that Mr. Berlin has operated in this position for a number of years now, it seems fit that we would go forward with him in this interim position. I would also say that it is interim acting, because the commission is committed to doing a full search for a permanent executive director. That does not preclude, obviously, Mr. Berlin from being a candidate for that position, but we do want to give ourselves, again, the space and the time to make sure that we have the leadership across the board, whether it's at the chair level or the executive director level, to carry the commission into the future and what we hope will be a successful future. So given that, the chair will entertain a motion to appoint an interim or acting executive director, and then we will and to name that acting executive director in the motion, if that's appropriate. So is there such a motion?
I would move to create the position of interim executive director so that the commission can move forward, and I would nominate Sanford Berlin for that role.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion, comment? Mr. Berlin, would you like to comment?
Yes, I very much appreciate the confidence of the chair and others in putting my name forward. I am, and I've said this in the past, I'm committed to the continuation of the work of the Commission, of the enforcement of the state's ethics and lobbying laws. I believe this organization has the capacity and the ability to carry forward in a manner that is fully consistent with the objectives of the new commissioners, and I would be pleased if I were to be selected to continue in this role on an interim basis. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Are we ready to vote?
Call the question.
All those in favor of the interim executive director's position or acting executive director's position and Mr. Sanford Berlin serving in that position, please say aye.
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 Any opposition, same sign. Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. I think now we would move to looking at the delegation of authority, and then we'll come back to the interim staffing plan. So the delegation of authority to the acting executive director. We have a resolution that we had in our packet of material, and it was also shared with the public, as I understand it. Mr. Berlin, do you want to speak to that?
I do, and before I do that, I do want to thank commissioners for the prior vote, and again for the expression of confidence in my ability to move the commission forward. Yes, with respect to the motion and the resolution that's set forth at attachment B to the materials, and yes, they were made publicly available. Under the current iteration of the executive law, and it's now at section 94, subsection 6B, the commission is authorized to delegate to the executive director the authority to act between meetings of the commission with respect to matters that do not require a vote of the commission. The resolution that is annexed to the materials is an embodiment of the fundamental functions of staff in fulfilling the mandate of the commission in the areas of investigations and enforcement, guidance, lobbying law compliance and regulation, education and staffing, as well as in the administration of the agency. All of these with respect to matters that do not require a vote of the commission, and in respect of all of which, I want to emphasize that there will be full reporting on all matters to the commissioners. And they will be fully apprised of all activities conducted under the terms of the delegation. But it is important to the functioning, the day-to-day functioning of the commission across the many areas of activity that staff is called upon to conduct, that they have appropriate authority and authorization to act. And I can either go through these item by item, or I'm happy to respond to any questions. There is, I would point out, a catch-all final provision with respect to any other matters that can be properly effectuated by staff, and again, don't require specific authorization of the commission.
So those are there before us. I just open the floor to my fellow commissioners to see if there are comments or questions. Does this require an approval of the commissioners?
It does. It requires a formal vote and approval, and this will become a formal resolution which will be made publicly available and posted on the commission website if it is adopted.
Okay. All righty. So why don't we get it on the table for discussion? Is there a motion to adopt this resolution to delegate these authorities? This authority is outlined in the resolution that we have, the document that we have in our packet of materials, and it's been made available to the public. Is there a motion to adopt such resolution?
I so move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
So we have 2 seconds from Judge Austin and Dr. Edwards. Discussion. Questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I just have one observation. We've had discussion that this is an interim appointment, and the resolution as drafted speaks to the commission delegating authority to Sanford and acting in the capacity of executive director. I understand the language of acting in the capacity to reflect that it's acting. And I ask whether or not anyone thinks it's necessary or appropriate to further modify the title to say acting in the capacity of interim executive director, solely for the purpose of avoiding any confusion on the part of persons outside this meeting today raising a question as to that language.
I would agree with that.
Yep, I agree with that.
So we will have a motion to amend the motion to reflect acting in the capacity of interim executive director. Is that what we want to say?
That's what I would propose.
Okay.
Fine.
That's the motion. So this is an amendment to the motion. So is there a second to that motion to amend? Second by Mr. Cardoza, Commissioner Cardoza. Any discussion on the amendment?
If I may,
Sure, Judge.
I'm just concerned. I think it's probably a distinction without a difference. as the interim executive director, Mr. Berland will be, for all intents and purposes, the executive director until a new one is appointed, or at our pleasure we do something else. But he will be acting in the capacity of the executive director. I'm not sure the language is really necessary under the circumstances. I won't object, but it's kind of superfluous under the circumstances that we've just named him interim executive director.
Understood. Other comments? Are we ready to vote?
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Yeah, we're going to adopt the written resolution that we have in our packet.
Yes.
The idea?
Yes, with the amendment.
Maybe we should read in to that what changes we made. In other words, if you looked at the resolved portion of the resolution, perhaps we can add some language after acting and before in the capacity, to the effect of, on an interim basis, until such time as the commission appoints an executive director on a permanent basis. Would that clarify that, Mr. Austin?
Actually, Judge, I think the way I would do it is acting in the capacity of executive director of the commission in an interim capacity.
Okay.
On an interim basis.
Hey, would you, Commissioner who made the amendment, would you accept that as a friendly amendment to your amendment?
I would.
If you will, we can move forward then.
Yes, I would.
Great. All right, so we have a friendly amendment made to the original amendment. That is what we're voting on. Can we have that language one more time, Judge Carney? Or Judge Austin?
After, in the resolved sentence, after the words executive director of the commission, comma, on an interim basis, comma.
Thank you. All right, are we ready to vote on the amendment as modified? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Abstentions? All right, the amendment carries. Now we'll vote on the full motion. Is there any more discussion on the full motion to adopt the resolution? All right, hearing none, are we ready to vote? All those in favor of the resolution as amended, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the resolution carries unanimously. Thank you. So now we'll go back to the interim staffing plan, and Mr. Berland, would you like to talk to us about that?
Yes, thank you, Chair. The interim proposed staffing plan is set forth at attachment A to your meeting materials, and it includes organizational charts both for management and operational staff, as well as an accompanying description of each position and a précis of the corresponding qualifications for the position, and where there's more than one occupant in that role, the number of such individuals who would be employed in that capacity. These charts and the descriptions conform to the current structure of the agency, and I would suggest that for the time being, and until any modifications are considered or entertained by the commission, that commissioners approve the current plan so that we can continue smooth operation of the commission in all of its areas, including all of those that are set forth in the delegation as amended, just approved by the commission. I will say, I should add, that staff certainly has recommendations for modifications we think are appropriate that we would like at a future time to discuss with the commission. Some of those will be necessitated by differences between Section 94 of the executive law as reflected in ECRA, the recent statute, versus the old version of Section 94, including much expanded educational obligations, ethical educational obligations of the commission, and some augmentation that we think is appropriate in the investigations and enforcement area, and some other adjustments we think are appropriate, and there may be other suggestions that come up as the structure of the organization is examined, but this is a workable structure at this time. And as interim executive director, I would like to have the ability to maintain this until such time as changes are implemented.
Commissioner Cardozo.
I have two questions. I thought that the statute might require that we list their salaries that they're receiving, and I think it would be very helpful if we knew how many of these positions were vacant. Perhaps not at this meeting, but I think that would be helpful information to have. But I thought the salary issue might be required by the statute.
The salaries have been posted on the website. So far as I know, they're still up. I'll confirm that they are. In terms of vacancies, for discussion in executive session, I am prepared to show you that. There are appropriate materials in the executive session, materials that will show you where we have vacancies and where I believe it's important to begin posting positions and begin soliciting interest in filling those positions. So I think we will be addressing or have addressed one of your questions, Commissioner,
yeah.
and we will be talking about the other part of it in executive session.
Thank you.
Are there
any other comments or questions? Please go ahead.
Again, I would just emphasize that this is a workable system. We do need to fill vacancies and begin that process. But it is a workable system, and it will serve the Commission's interest in both continuity and in aggressively continuing the work of this agency. So I would hope we have a favorable vote on the request.
Great. Is there a motion to approve this interim overall staffing plan?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Do we have any more discussion? All right, are we ready to vote? All those in favor of this interim staffing plan as put forward by our acting executive director, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the motion carries.
Right, thank you.
And we will proceed with this plan and have a more detailed personnel discussion in the executive session. I think next on our agenda is to approve our meeting dates as outlined in the documents that we were sent.
Yes, under attachment C, excuse me, to the materials, is schedule of proposed dates through the end of the current year. After discussion with commissioners, I'm going to propose that rather than having our next meeting on September 20th, that we have it on October 6th. That will allow greater opportunities to conduct orientations and educational sessions for commissioners, an opportunity to meet further with staff, and give us, in addition, the opportunity to pull together some additional material that I think would be very useful to the commission. But that is the only change.
Will that be in New York or in Albany?
Well, at this point, if the governor does not further extend the executive order that allows remote participation, we would have to be meeting, and it doesn't have to be a single location, but it would have to be locations that are also open to the public and would have to be interconnected. We certainly have the capacity here in Albany for the full commission, and in New York, we do have access to a shared meeting space that would accommodate the group. I don't think we have to decide at this time, unless commissioners wish to, whether we'll use both locations or select one. I do agree it would be well to bring all commissioners together in one place when the opportunity arises.
Great. Great. Any more comments or questions? All right. So we have these dates before us with the one change, that the September 20th meeting will be moved to October 6th, and we'll decide on location as we get closer to the time, which will be somewhat influenced by what happens with the open meetings law. So are we ready to vote on this, on these dates as modified? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Sure. And so we have a discussion of FOIL and the rules and regs surrounding those procedures.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I have attached, we have attached to the meeting book at attachment D, the model rules for agencies under the Freedom of Information Law, Article 6 of the Public Officers Law. These are the model rules that have been promulgated by the Committee on Open Government. While this commission is in the process of promulgating its own FOIL regulations, which the statute does require it to do, while it is in the process of doing that, which will have to be a formal process under the State Administrative Procedure Act, so it will take some time to bring about the actual adoption of those regulations. I think it makes sense, and I've conferred with the executive director of the Committee on Open Government. It would make sense to simply articulate that until the commission has its own FOIL regulations, it will abide by, to the extent applicable and to the extent consistent with the commission's mandate and other restrictions that it may be subject to, that it will follow the dictates of the model rules for agencies under the Freedom of Information Law. We will be appointing, we have an interim records access officer in place, and we have an appeals officer designated as well, and we'll discuss that further in executive session. But the goal is to be in compliance with FOIL ab initio for the commission.
Don't we, before we formally approve this, doesn't the law require that we insert that person's name in this resolution?
Well, the recommendation is that the commission not adopt it as a formal resolution at this time. It's actually a matter for discussion and reference, and this is how staff will be complying with it. I have no objection to a formal resolution if commissioners think that's appropriate. But in terms of actual adoption, you know, we would have to go through the SAPA process. So I think it's sensible to simply do it by reference.
Fine.
Thank you.
So we will note for the minutes and for the record the recommendation of the acting executive director vis-a-vis procedures related to FOIL and FOIL request, and then we'll come back with a fuller plan that we will adopt at some point in the near future. Is that all of our understanding?
Yes, yes, and we will, staff will undertake to begin formulating proposed FOIL regulations for commissioners' consideration. And then if everyone is amenable to it, we'll put those out for public comment in accordance with SAPA and go through the formal adoption process for those regulations. And likewise for regulations under the open meetings law.
Excellent.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a question. On page 30, item 5, at the end it says, in such case, the agent may charge a fee in accordance with paragraph D1 and 2 above. I don't see a D, so are they referring to 4, 1, and 2? Or did I just misread it?
We'll have to clarify that with with the Committee on Open Government. I mean, I will say that generally we have applied fees that are consistent with or lower than those assessed by many agencies under FOIL. So we have prior commission did generally in terms of charging fees for copying and so on. Follow the general principles of FOIL. And we'll continue to do that until the Commission determines otherwise.
All right, any other questions, comments? Okay, I don't think any actions required here. We'll just note it for the minutes of how we will proceed, and we will revisit this at some appropriate time in the future.
Thank you.
Sure. Is there any new business or other business to come before the commission? All right, then the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Great. Any objection? All right, then we are adjourned to executive session, and we will look to staff to give us sort of instructions on how that actually happens. Proceeding.
Thank you. Are we back on now?
We're back. We're now in live session.
I see it. Okay, we're live. Thank you, Chair. In executive session, the Commission discussed staffing matters for the Commission. It discussed certain litigation-related matters. It authorized steps in an enforcement matter, and it authorized steps in several investigative matters.
Are there any comments from, I'm sorry, Mr. Berlin, were you done?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the commissioners? All right, thank you. Any other business to come before this body? Is there a motion that we adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Let me just say I am very pleased to be working with all of you, and we'll look forward to our ongoing discussion. And just to say to the public, we hope to restore and continue to earn your confidence in these new positions that we've all assumed. So thank you all, and the meeting is adjourned.